Hi, my name is Adam Bellison, and the two works of art that I decided to analyze was The Arch of Titus and the 3rd of May, 1808. And the reasoning behind these choices was kinda simple. As someone going into architectural design, I know I wanted to analyze a building, and the Arch of Titus stood out to me. So the choice was then deciding on the second one. And I found a painting that also stood out to me, and one that also held a similar motif. And that painting ended up being the 3rd of May, 1808. And the motif that they both shared was that of war. Both pieces depicted some side of war, though they came at it at different angles. The Arch of Titus, which was constructed in 81 AD, after being commissioned by Emperor Domitian, he decided to depict war in a manner of triumph, and he did this by having the arch be covered with relief sculptures depicting various scenes of triumphs, from that of Romans looting the Jews' prized possessions and artifacts, to depicting Titus, the brother of Domitian, who this arch was made in honor of as practically a god. This was done through a heavy use of symbolism, with putting down the enemy's important symbols, and using Roman symbols of triumph, strength, and courage to bolster the Roman people. And even down to the arch's medium, where its imposing scale of marble makes the arch a great symbol of triumph of war. And all these culminate in a piece of architecture that maximizes the triumphs of wars for the Romans specifically. And that was how Domitian's Arch of Titus represented the motif of war. But how was war represented in the 3rd of May? Francisco Goya's painting, the 3rd of May, 1808, produced in the year 1814, depicts war in a much different light. Goya saw war in a more brutal reality of murder and sorrow. And so, in his painting, he depicts Napoleon's army massacring Spanish rebels who were fighting against Napoleon's takeover and installment of his brother as the King of Spain. This gruesome scene is achieved by his usage of color and light. As the scene is split in half by light, as the innocent citizens are in light, and the soldiers are in darkness. This creates a clear divide between good and evil that was accentuated by the piece occurring at night. And not to mention the high uses of chiaroscuro that adds the harsh highlights and shadows to the figures. And Goya also utilizes symbols, but in a different way. Examples of these symbols was that of light bathing those innocents in a holy light, but the most prominent symbol was that of the man in white in the spotlight of the painting. He is posed in such a way that he mimics Jesus hanging on the cross, and not only that, his hands are also have indentations representing stigmatas, which are symbols of the nail marks on Jesus' hands. All these symbols painted those innocents as martyrs of war, displaying war's cruelty. And the environment surrounding this piece accentuates this as well, depicting a moonless night with a lightless town in the background, and a hill trapping the victims between stone and the barrel of a rifle. These elements create a bleak setting of war and gives off the feeling of separation for those who were taken from that town. All these elements show the brutality of war, and not its triumphs, but the victims that result from it. And in conclusion, these pieces share the same motif of war, but take it in much different directions. With Domitian's Arch of Titus depicting war as a sign of triumph and victory, and Goya's 3rd of May, 1808 depicting war as a symbol of cruelty and something that brings sadness and suffering to people. Thank you.